Hey there, welcome back to another episode. It's me. I hope you're well. Today we gonna tell the story of a man named Ahmed, who finds himself in a terrifying village full of blood-painted walls, dead-eyed villagers and an ominous bell tower. This chilling tale is your typical horror story with an unexpected twist. So let's get started. Ahmed was on a trip to visit his family when he decided to take a scenic route through the mountains. He loved driving in the rain, and the sky had opened up just as he hit the dusty road leading to his destination. Now, hours later, the rain had stopped, but the night still felt heavy, thick with damp air and a strange silence that made the hairs on Ahmed's neck stand up. His car headlights cut through the misty road ahead as he drove deeper into the mountains. He should have been on the highway to Lahore by now, but the GPS had suddenly gone dark, and his phone showed no signal. Only the sound of the tires crunching over gravel and the occasional cry of a distant owl kept him company. Ahmed muttered under his breath, "Damn. If I don't find the main road soon, I'll be stuck out here all night." Then, he saw it. A crooked wooden sign stood to the left, barely hanging from one rusty chain. The letters were almost gone, washed away by years of rain and wind. But he could still make out a faint word carved into the wood. "Silent Village Gives." Something inside him whispered not to turn. Not to follow that road. But curiosity or, maybe desperation got the better of him. He turned the wheel. The road narrowed instantly, almost swallowed by towering trees. Their twisted branches bent low, scraping against the car roof as if trying to block his way. The headlights flashed across strange carvings etched into the bark of the tree, symbols he didn't recognize, circles and jagged lines like warnings left by forgotten hands. Ahmed shivered. What the hell is this place? Minutes passed, maybe longer. Time felt different here. The air grew colder, the silence heavier, until he realized something that made his stomach drop. There were no animal sounds, no crickets, no rustling leaves, just silence. And then through the fog, he saw the village. Small, crumbling houses lined the path. Their wooden shutters were closed tight, windows dark. The cobblestone street was empty, the lamps long dead. Not a single person walked outside, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. As he drove slowly down the narrow street, every house seemed to lean toward him, as if the entire village was holding its breath. His headlights caught something in a window movement. A pale face, too quick to see clearly. Ahmed's throat went dry. He parked the car near the square and stepped out, calling out nervously, "Hello? Anyone here? My GPS died, just need directions." No answer, just silence. But then a child's laughter. It echoed faintly down the alleyway. A high-pitched giggle that sent a jolt through his chest. He turned sharply, but the street was empty. "Hello?" he called again, voice shaking. And that when he noticed something painted on the wall of the old stone church at the center of the village. The paint was faded, but still visible in the beam of his flashlight. Words scrawled in blood-red letters. "When the bell tolls. Leave before dark." Before Ahmed could process it, the church bell above him began to ring slow, heavy, and deafening. And the village finally woke up. From every house, every alley, every corner, doors began to creak open. Ahmed froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He took a step back, bumping into a woman who emerged from the shadows. She was tall and thin, with eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. Her skin was pale, almost white, and her lips were stained a deep red. "Can you help me?" Ahmed stammered, taking a shaky breath. The woman tilted her head, her gaze unwavering. "Help you? What do you need?" she asked, her voice a raspy whisper. I need directions, he replied, pointing to the signpost. I missed the turn for the highway, and my car is out of battery. I just need to charge my phone. The woman's eyes narrowed. You shouldn't be here. This village is cursed. No one stays here, especially not at night, she said, taking a step closer. Ahmed instinctively backed away. I don't want to be rude, but can you please just tell me how to get out of here, he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The woman leaned in close, her breath cold on his skin. This village has secrets, secrets best left buried. You shouldn't have come here, she hissed, her eyes flashing. Suddenly, a hand clamped onto Ahmed's shoulder, spinning him around. A tall, muscular man stood behind him, his face hidden in the shadows. Let him go, the woman snapped. The man hesitated, then released Ahmed, stepping back into the darkness. We should leave before the bell finishes its song, the woman said, turning back to Ahmed. Without another word, she walked away, disappearing into the gloom. Ahmed stood frozen, his mind racing. He knew he should leave, but something held him back, a morbid curiosity that threatened to consume him. He glanced at the church where the eerie toll continued to echo. A shiver ran down his spine. With trembling hands, he pulled out his phone and clicked the flashlight on, its feeble beam doing little to pierce the oppressive darkness. He turned and fled, running blindly through the labyrinth of narrow streets, the sound of the bell ringing louder, more menacing than ever before. He could hear the man's heavy footsteps behind him, getting closer. Panic surged through him. He stumbled and fell, scraping his palms on the rough cobblestones. Scrambling to his feet, he dared to glance back. The man loomed over him, his face still shrouded in shadow, but his eyes burning with an unnatural light. Terror lent speed to Ahmed's steps. He ran, his lungs burning, legs aching. The image of the man's glowing eyes seared into his mind. He burst out of the village, the sight of the towering trees and the dark road ahead bringing a surge of relief. He didn't stop running until he reached the main road, the familiar hum of traffic a soothing balm to his frayed nerves. As the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, chasing away the lingering darkness, Ahmed looked back at the silent village, its name now a chilling reminder of the horrors he had barely escaped. He never looked back, never spoke of what he experienced. The terror of the silent woods, the ominous village, and the unsettling encounter forever etched in his memory. Now, about those twists, I promised. Did you notice anything strange about the villagers? Did you catch that small detail that gives away the whole story? Well, let me break it down for you. First, the detail you might have missed. The woman's white skin and red lips, and the man's unnatural glowing eyes. These are classic signs of vampires. Now, think about it. The story takes place in a remote village in the mountains. Vampires often prefer secluded areas away from human settlements. The villagers seem to emerge from the shadows, hinting at their nocturnal nature, a key trait of vampires who sleep during the day. And what about the church, with its warning about leaving before dark? Churches are symbolic of Christianity, a religion known for its rituals like holy water and crucifixes, items commonly used to ward off vampires. The blood-red paint on the walls suggests a connection to blood, a central element in vampire lore. The villagers' obsession with the time also aligns with vampire behavior, as does their pale, unhealthy appearance. And let's not forget the detail about Ahmed seeing the pale face in the window. When we think about vampires, we immediately picture fangs. Could it be possible that one of the villagers is a vampire? Does anyone watching want to revisit the silent village and find out for sure? Comment below. Let me know what you think. And that's it for our chilling tale today. If you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to show your support. Your likes and comments mean everything to us. We've got more terrifying tales waiting in the shadows, ready to be unleashed. So stay tuned for more episodes. Until then, sleep tight, and remember, some villages are best left undisturbed. Thanks for watching. See you next time. The church bell's echoes rolled through the village like thunder, each toll vibrating in Ahmed's chest. He stood frozen in the square, flashlight trembling in his hand as the sound seemed to awaken something unseen. The houses that moments ago appeared lifeless now stirred. Shutters creaked open, doors moaned on their hinges, and from the shadows, figures began to step out slowly, silently. At first, Ahmed felt relief. Finally, people, he raised his voice, forcing a nervous laugh. Hi, I'm lost. Can someone help me find the highway? But the villagers didn't answer. Men, women, and even children shuffled into the square, their bare feet scraping against the stones. They formed a wide circle around him, eyes fixed, faces pale as chalk. What unsettled him most was not just their silence, but the way their lips trembled, as though they were holding back screams. Ahmed swallowed hard. Look, I don't want trouble. That's when he noticed them all turn their heads, in perfect unison, toward the church tower. The bell continued to toll. And then he saw her. A girl, maybe 10 years old, standing by the church steps. Her long black hair hung wet over her face, and in her tiny hands, she clutched a doll, stitched and torn. The doll's head lolled to one side, button eyes staring lifelessly at Ahmed. The girl raised her chin slowly, revealing a pale face streaked with dirt. Her lips parted and, though the villagers stayed silent, the child whispered, her voice thin and broken. You shouldn't be here when the dark comes. Ahmed's chest tightened. What do you mean? No answer. Just those wide, hollow eyes staring through him. The bell gave its final toll. The air grew heavy, almost suffocating. Then, as if pulled by some invisible command, the villagers turned away, one by one, retreating back into their homes. Doors slammed shut. Shutters closed. The square emptied in seconds. The little girl remained. She tilted her head, clutching her doll tighter, and whispered again. It wakes at night. Before Ahmed could ask anything, she vanished into the church, the heavy doors slamming shut with a thunderous echo. And suddenly, the village was silent again. Only the sound of Ahmed's panicked breathing filled the night. His instincts screamed at him to leave, but when he turned to his car, his heart nearly stopped. The headlights were still on, but the windshield was covered. Something smeared across the glass in thick black strokes. He stepped closer, shining his flashlight. The words carved into the grime made his stomach twist. Isaun TLS AASAES. His hands trembled. No, this isn't real. He tried the door handle, locked. All 4 doors. He pulled frantically, then felt the chill of air at his back. Slowly, he turned. From the edge of the square, the shadows between the houses seemed darker now. They shifted, moving against the still night. Something tall, something wrong, was watching him from within the black. Its outline was impossible to grasp. Long arms stretching unnaturally, a body that bent like smoke, a face that wasn't a face at all, but a blur of shifting features. Ahmed stumbled back, gasping. His flashlight flickered, and then a scream. Not his. A woman's scream, piercing and raw, echoing from somewhere inside the village. The sound was so violent, so filled with terror, it rattled the windows of the houses around him. and then silence returned. Ahmed's knees nearly buckled. His mind raced. No, no, I have to get out. I can't stay here. But when he turned to run back down the road he came from, his chest froze with dread. The road was gone. Where the path had been, there was only more village houses stretching endlessly into the mist. And at the far end of the street, he saw the girl again. The same doll, the same hollow eyes. She raised her hand and pointed directly at him. And behind her, the shadow moved closer. Ahmed's heart pounded so violently it hurt. The girl's small finger remained fixed on him, her expression void of life. Behind her, the shifting shadow loomed taller, stretching unnaturally across the cobblestones, almost as though it had no body, just hunger. He forced himself to breathe. This isn't real. This can't be real. But every instinct screamed it was. Gathering what little courage he had left, Ahmed stepped toward the girl. His voice shook. What do you want from me? Why am I here? The girl tilted her head, clutching her doll tighter. For the first time, her lips curled into something like a smile. No one leaves. Not until 7. Her words lingered in the cold night air. Ahmed frowned. What does that mean? 7 o'clock. She nodded slowly. 7 bells, when the night ends. If you survive. A chill spread through Ahmed's spine. Survive what? But the girl said nothing more. She turned her back to him, skipping toward the church with eerie calm, her doll dragging across the ground. Ahmed wanted to follow, demand answers, but then he heard it. Footsteps. Behind him. He spun around. The street was empty, but the sound of footsteps echoed on the cobblestones, deliberate and heavy. Step by step, they grew louder, closer, circling him. He raised his flashlight, spinning frantically. The beam cut through mist and shadow, but nothing was there. Then, suddenly his light caught something. A man, or at least it looked like one. He stood at the far end of the street, dressed in tattered centuries-old clothes, his face pale and waxy like melted candle wax. His eyes were 2 hollow pits, black as the void. Ahmed froze. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there, watching. Then another appeared, and another. From every alley, every doorway, more figures emerged. Their movements were stiff, jerky, like puppets pulled by unseen strings. Dozens of them, all staring, all walking toward him in silence. Ahmed's breath caught in his throat. He stumbled backward until his back hit the locked car. Panic clawed at his chest. No, 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 no. The figures drew closer, their faces twisted, mouths slightly open, as if ready to scream. Then, all at once, they stopped. Silence. And from within that silence, a single sound rose, the church bell tolling. 1. The wax-faced villagers tilted their heads, as if listening. Ahmed gripped his flashlight tighter. His mind raced. 7 bells, survive until 7. That meant he had to endure 6 more. The figures began to retreat, dissolving back into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. Within seconds, the street was empty again. Ahmed's body shook uncontrollably. He wanted to collapse, but a flicker of movement caught his eye. The girl, standing by the church steps once more. This time, she spoke clearly, her voice carrying through the silent square. They're the taken. Every stranger who enters the village stays forever. Ahmed staggered toward her. I don't belong here. I didn't choose this. I just took a wrong turn. The girl's face hardened, no longer innocent, but cold, almost cruel. The village chooses, not you. Her doll's head turned suddenly, as if it had a life of its own. For a terrifying second, Ahmed swore the doll's button eyes blinked. He stumbled back. What do you mean? the village chooses. The girl stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. When the clock strikes 7, the village decides if you stay, or if you're taken. Ahmed's throat went dry. And if I'm taken? Her eyes flickered toward the shadows crawling at the edge of the houses. Then you'll scream, and scream, until your voice is gone. The church bell rang again. 2. The sound rattled through Ahmed's bones. The girl's form flickered, as though she wasn't entirely real, and then she faded into the mist, leaving him alone once more. Ahmed collapsed onto the cobblestones, clutching his head. His watch ticked faintly. Midnight. That meant he had 7 hours. If he lived that long. He stared at his car, at the words smeared across the windshield, "Stay until 7. He had no choice. He was trapped. And from somewhere deep in the village, the screaming started again. The night felt endless. Ahmed's body trembled with exhaustion, his mind fraying at the edges. The screams that echoed through the village had faded into an eerie hush, as though the shadows themselves were holding their breath. His watch read 6:10 a.m., only 50 minutes until the 7th bell. But survival was slipping through his fingers. Every corner of the village seemed alive, shadows curling like smoke. Whispers slithering through broken windows, unseen eyes watching him from the dark. The taken appeared and vanished, their wax-like faces hovering just at the edge of his vision. Sometimes they reached for him, their hands stiff and claw-like, but always retreating at the sound of the bell. 6 bells. The 6th toll shook the air like thunder, and with it came silence, heavier than death itself. Ahmed stumbled into the square, collapsing near the church steps. His breaths came sharp and shallow. Then she appeared again. The little girl. The doll clutched in her arms. But her presence felt different now, darker. The innocence had peeled away like cracked paint. Her eyes gleamed, reflecting something not quite human. Ahmed forced himself to speak, though his voice cracked. "Why me? What does this place want from me?" She tilted her head, her voice calm, almost soothing. "The village feeds on fear. Every 7 nights, it claims one. Tonight, it chose you." "No." Ahmed staggered to his feet. "I didn't come here to die. I don't belong here." The girl smiled faintly, her doll's head twitching unnaturally in her grasp. "No one ever belongs here. That's the point." Ahmed clenched his fists, rage mixing with terror. "There has to be a way out. There's always a way out." The girl's smile widened. "There is. Survive the 7th bell, without screaming." The words struck him like a knife. His heart sank. The villagers he'd heard all night, the endless wailing, the tortured cries, they weren't just victims. They were challengers who had failed. Ahmed swallowed hard. "And if I scream?" Her doll's mouth opens, stretching wider than any doll's mouth should. From it came a shrill, agonized scream that pierced his skull, the sound of countless voices trapped in eternal torment. Ahmed fell to his knees, covering his ears, but the sound was inside him, rattling his bones. When it stopped, the girl whispered, "Then you'll join them." The ground beneath him shook. The church bell rope swayed violently inside the tower, though no one pulled it. Shadows spilled across the cobblestones, crawling like liquid night. The taken emerged, dozens of them, their waxy faces twisted with hunger. The 7th bell was coming. Ahmed's body screamed at him to run, but where? The village gates were gone, swallowed by fog. Every alley led back to the square. He was the mouse in a cage. He pressed his back against the church door, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. His voice cracked. "I won't scream. Do you hear me? I won't." The taken closed in, their mouths opening in unison, releasing a low, guttural moan that built into a chorus of anguish. Their hands reached for him, cold and stiff, brushing his skin. Ahmed squeezed his eyes shut. "I won't scream. I won't scream." The church bell began to toll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each strike shook his soul, rattling his teeth. His heart slammed against his ribs. And then, 7. The final bell ripped through the night like the judgment of God. The taken lunged, their faces inches from his, their hollow eyes burning with hunger. Ahmed's throat burned with the urge to scream. His body writhed under invisible pressure, as though hands clawed into his chest, ripping him apart from the inside. Every nerve screamed with pain. But through it all, he bit down hard, tears streaming down his face, choking back the primal howl clawing its way out of him. The shadows shrieked in fury. The taken howled and dissolved like smoke in the wind. The girl and her doll flickered, their forms distorting, unraveling into nothing, and then the first rays of dawn cut through the mist. The church stood still, lifeless. The cobblestones glistened with dew. The village was gone. Ahmed stood alone in the middle of an empty road, his car parked a few feet away. The windshield was clean, no message, no blood, just as if nothing had happened. His legs nearly gave out as he stumbled into the driver's seat. His hands trembled on the wheel. He looked around the mountains, the road, the morning light, ordinary, peaceful, and yet, not. In the rearview mirror, just for a second, he saw her, the little girl, sitting in the back seat, doll in her lap, smiling.